Hello. Today I will tell you about primary manifest hypothyroidism. How to identify it? Very simple. To do this, you need to give a blood test for TSH. It should be raised. That is, above 4, and at the same time the free T4 should be lower. There is no point in taking them at the same time. First of all, TSH is surrendered, and then, if it is elevated, free T4 is inspected. So, if this suddenly happened, usually everyone asks why I have, why me, what is the reason? There are many reasons. The first, probably the most common cause for the development of hypothyroidism is autoimmune thyroiditis. That is, for some reason, the process of destruction of the 4-day-old gland started. The reason may be different. For example, it is viral infection, which eventually led to the fact that the barrier for the immune system to the reading gland was destroyed. The immune system gained access to the reading gland, resulting in the destruction of the reading gland. The second option is, for example, the presence of streptococcal infection, which secretes proteins that are very similar to thyroid peroxidase, to which antibodies are produced. Surely everyone knows who has analyzed at least once. I looked at a blood test for a reading gland. Often these antibodies to TPO are added there. These antibodies to thyroid peroxidase are often associated with the development of hypothyroidism. However, they can be, watch other videos and nothing will be perfect, they don't mean anything by themselves. The main diagnostic criterion is that TSH is higher than the reference values. At the same time, T4 was lower. I'm talking about this situation now because there is also subclinical hypothyroidism when T4 is normal. And there are many shades of grey because it requires an individual approach. In general, if primary hypothyroidism is detected, it can be caused, as I said, by immune thyroiditis. It can be caused by any other thyroiditis, for example, subacute, postpartum, acute, which rarely, of course, happens, but it happens, respectively. What to do about it? In fact, at the time of detection of primary hypothyroidism, nothing can be done with the reading gland. It is destroyed, it does not function. Accordingly, there is no point in restoring it, because it is for the most part a piece of fibrosis which cannot be restored in any way. It is impossible to replace the middle tissue with functioning tissue of the reading gland. It is impossible. All sorts, as it seems to me, charlatans often play on this, who say no, we will now restore the function of the reading gland to you and everything will be fine. It's not that. It is impossible to restore the function of the reading gland with manifest hypothyroidism. It is impossible. The path is only, unfortunately, unidirectional in the direction of its complete cessation of function and in the direction of replacement therapy with levothyroxine. How to identify hypothyroidism at all? Yes, does he have any symptoms? In fact, they exist. There are many of them, but they are all very nonspecific. For example, it is a weakness. SOSO symptom. This is hair loss, brittle nails, complaints that are often made by women who do not have hypothyroidism. These are, for example, constipation from the classic. It may be menstrual irregularities or infertility. This is a good diagnostic criterion. It's good when a woman, she has a cycle, and according to it, if there are any abnormalities, it is most often violated in any case when we touch on endocrine diseases. A very convenient criterion. If suddenly something is wrong, TSH is necessarily analyzed. TSH is included in the protocol for the management of pregnant women, in the protocol of preparation for pregnancy, in the IVF protocol. This is a really important parameter that is often violated. Accordingly, if suddenly a person goes to the doctor with some symptoms, he also has every right to prescribe a blood test for TSH, because the symptoms are not specific, and this may well be and hypothyroidism led the person to the doctor. But if TSH is normal, there is no hypothyroidism. Keep this in mind, because if, for example, TSH is normal and special T4 is deviated from the reference values, most likely this is an erroneous definition of T4. Or there is still such a feature, some kind of individual one, that T4, in principle, is not in reference values. What are the reference values for free T4? These are the values that most have. What are these thyroxine values for each individual person? In fact, for each individual person, they are their own individual. This TSH, which I have repeatedly mentioned, is a pituitary hormone that is designed to regulate the function of the thyroid gland. Now, if the thyroid gland is completely destroyed, the pituitary gland will try to stimulate it as much as possible, as best as possible, and TSH will inevitably grow. How does he know that the thyroid gland is not working? The fact is that for each person there are individual values of free T4, normal, conditionally, that is, for the pituitary gland. But it can be 13, 14, it can be 20. If suddenly T4 falls below this value, the pituitary gland begins to stimulate, produces TSH and normalizes, respectively, free T4. This only works in conditions where the thyroid gland is able to synthesize something. If it is destroyed, it is impossible. Therefore, if it is destroyed and manifest hypothyroidism is already established, then thyroxine is the best method of treatment. Thyroxine, fortunately, is well absorbed in the desired intestinal tract. This means that you do not need to prick it, you do not need to inject it in any other way. In fact, it doesn't even need to be broken up into a day. That is, morning-afternoon, as in people with renal insufficiency, all this is not necessary. It is enough to drink it in the morning on an empty stomach 30 minutes before meals and taking other medicines. But there is also an Irish recommendation to raise more than 3 hours after eating at night, well, or at night. That is, accordingly, if suddenly at night you wanted to get up for some reason, and a lot of time has already passed after eating, you can drink thyroxine. And what to control against the background of hypothyroidism? It is enough to control TSH. With what frequency? It is individual. When changing the dose of thyroxine, it is 3 months. With a stable dose of thyroxine, this can be once a year. Well, in Russia it is customary every 6 months. I don't know why, but according to European recommendations, once a year. Probably so that patients feel that there is observation and that they themselves do not forget to drink thyroxine. Still, once a year, it seems, is perhaps rare. But I recommend once a year. Accordingly, if a person is mentally ready for this, please. This is the right recommendation, I think. And in what dose to drink thyroxine? Thyroxine is calculated approximately at the rate of 1.6 minus 1.8 micrograms per kilogram of body weight. Usually, everyone calculates 1.6 and throws it to the top of some value, which is in the form of a tablet. For example, if we calculate, we get 96 micrograms of thyroxine, then the nearest whole tablet is 100 micrograms. There is also, of course, 88 micrograms of thyroxine, but this pill turns out further, purely mathematically. Accordingly, thyroxine is calculated in this way, then it is controlled. And in fact, that's all therapy. The only negative is that you will have to take it constantly, but the thyroid gland is destroyed once and for all. Therefore, it seems very logical to me. In general, remember, if you suddenly revealed primary manifest hypothyroidism, it is worth taking thyroxine, it is worth following the doctor's recommendations, because there is no other good way to stay healthy and not have symptoms, there are no signs of any hypothyroidism. Thank you.